Hi, Christy Blanchford, courts columnist for Post Media and the National Post. Who is this company, SNC Lavalin, for which the Prime Minister's office has so vigorously gone to bat? We know that there were 11 people, there were 10 conversations, some with the Prime Minister himself. We know that Michael Wernick, the ostensible civil servant, knew the date of the freaking next SNC Lavalin board meeting. He was freaking out about it. He kept saying to Jody Wilson-Raybould, well, the SNC's got its board meeting. We got a Quebec election on the horizon. We got to move. We got to get some solution. We need a solution. Why are they so cozy with this company? The company is a global engineering and consulting and construction company. They do everything, based in, headquartered in Montreal. And I think as of about 2012, when the problems for which they are now facing bribery and fraud charges first came to light. These are activities they were allegedly engaging in Libya. When that all first came to light, there's no doubt that SNC Lavalin cleaned house. They brought in an entire new board of directors, they imposed rigorous ethical standards, and they had a couple of CEOs, including the fellow who's there now, Neil Bruce, who seemed to be really tough on business ethics. And that's nice. But lest we forget, first of all, SNC Lavalin is the only company in Canada thus far, according to the Government of Canada website, in the procurement section, public services and procurement, used to be called Public Works. They have what's called an administrative agreement under an integrity regime, which came into place under the Liberal government after the election. This was in 2015. They could have these administrative agreements with companies which were facing criminal charges and which otherwise might be barred from doing business, bidding for government contracts. Not SNC. SNC has a nice little administrative agreement under the integrity regime. The only company in the country thus far to have one. So there's that. Then there's the agreement that SNC Lavalin reached with the Commissioner of Canada Elections. This goes back to political activities between March of 2004 and May of 2011. SNC enters into a compliance agreement with the Commissioner of Elections. And, oh, here comes my dog. Sorry, he's very anti-SNC, I must tell you. Anyway, what they do in the election of that time, or during that time, between 2004 and 2011, according to the Commissioner of Elections, quote, certain former senior executives of SNC who are no longer with the company solicited some of the employees, their employees, including certain members of the Office of the President, to make political contributions at the federal level. It all fictitious bonuses were used to explain them, etc. It all adds up to about $117,000. And guess what? 83,000 of that went to the Liberal Party of Canada, the federal party, and various riding associations of the Liberal Party of Canada got another 13 grand. And they had to pay that back, and they had to sort of clean up their act, by which time they had already done that. So that's the Federal Elections Commissioner. Then there's their problems with the African Bank. This is the African Development Bank. The African Development Bank reached a settlement agreement with SNC, with some subsidiaries of SNC, quote, regarding allegations of sanctionable practices by SNC Lavalin International, Inc., in connection with certain African Bank financed contracts in Mozambique and Uganda. Under the agreement, this is the very sort of agreement that SNC is seeking in Canada to do away with the fraud and bribery charges they are now facing in connection with Libya activities. Under this agreement they reached with the African Bank, they were not what's called debarred. In other words, they were still allowed to bid for contracts in Africa, in Mozambique and Uganda. The agreement relates to alleged actions of former employees in connection with contracts awarded in 2008 and 2010, and it included a settlement payment of $1.5 million to the bank. So there's that. Then there's one last thing. Sorry, I'm going on forever here, but it's important, I think, that we know who this company is or was. SNC also entered into what's called a voluntary reimbursement program in Quebec. It was a 2-year program which ensured, quote, the recovery of amounts improperly paid as a result of fraud or fraudulent tactics in connection with public contracts. So why is the Liberal Party, and this government in particular, so cozy with this company? So what if they were to move? So what if there were some jobs lost? This is the same government which, to my way of thinking, hasn't been particularly empathetic to the dreadful plight of Albertan oil and gas workers. But that's a side point.